The young man was surprised to find that his dead grandfather's mouth would not close. According to the village elders, his grandfather had something important he had never said before he died. If they forced his mouth shut now, they would break his jaw. To avoid delaying the burial, they could only follow the original plan and lift the coffin. However, even 8 workers could not lift the coffin. The eldest uncle thought they were not using all their strength and urged them to try harder. But it was not that the workers were not exerting themselves, it was that the coffin was too heavy. The young man suspected that his grandfather did not want to leave this world, which was why the coffin could not be lifted. His father told him not to talk nonsense. Then his father and eldest uncle helped lift the coffin together. Even with the 2 of them, the coffin still would not budge. Some people believed that his grandfather was burdened by something important in his heart, and that was why he refused to be buried. Others said that perhaps his grandfather's spirit was pressing down on the coffin. If they kept delaying, they would miss the auspicious time. The young man knelt down and told his grandfather that if there was still an unfulfilled wish, he could appear to him in a dream. The others also knelt down one after another. Perhaps his grandfather felt his grandson's sincerity. The extremely heavy coffin was finally lifted. The workers dared not delay and immediately buried the coffin in the ground. They thought the matter would end there. The young man felt that his grandfather still had many things he wanted to say to him. That night, when he went to sleep, he felt someone fanning him with a folding fan. At first, he thought it was an illusion and did not pay much attention. Only when he reached back to feel behind him did he discover a body lying beside him. When he touched a face with its mouth wide open, his whole body shook with fear. After realizing it was his grandfather, he wondered whether his grandfather had something he wanted to tell him. At that moment, his father and eldest uncle rushed over after hearing the noise. The moment they saw his grandfather appear, they were also shocked. The eldest uncle thought some villagers had played a prank and dug up the grandfather's body. To avoid waking the neighbors and leaving a disgraceful scandal behind, they buried the grandfather at night. They invited the village mason to see what was going on. After looking around, the mason was so frightened that he jumped. He said the grandfather might have crawled out of the coffin on his own. The hole was wider on the outside and narrower on the inside, so it could not have been dug by someone from the outside. The eldest uncle had wanted to give the mason $100 as payment, but the mason did not dare accept it because the whole thing was so strange. Before leaving, he specifically told them to dismantle the mourning hall. Otherwise, the grandfather would come back again. Seeing how bizarre the situation was, the second uncle planned to go to town and invite a shaman to come take a look. He told them to stay here and watch over the grandfather. Late that night, the young man suddenly saw a figure dart out from the woods. His father and eldest uncle immediately chased after it, leaving the young man alone in that eerie place. Terrified, the young man knelt before his grandfather and begged for protection. In the next second, his grandfather suddenly appeared. The young man fainted from fright. When he woke up again, he was already lying in the bedroom. His mother was by his side, worried and tearful. He did not see his father anywhere. Only after asking did he learn that not long after his father chased after the figure, he disappeared. Only one of his shoes was found. The young man anxiously wanted to go look for his father. He was told that the village chief had already led the villagers out to search. The eldest uncle worried that it would be dangerous for him to go out and advised him to stay home and wait. At that moment, the second uncle brought a shaman back from town. The shaman told them to find 16 people born in the year of the dragon and send them to the gravesite. Once everyone had arrived, the shaman examined the situation and discovered that there was something suspicious about the grandfather's grave. He ordered everyone to prepare to dig up the grave. Before that, he gave each person a copper coin to hold in their mouth. He told them that no matter what happened, they must not open their mouths to speak. Then he performed a grand salute before the grandfather's grave, hoping the grandfather would not blame them for their actions. After that, he took out several copper coins and began to divine. After several attempts, the results were all extremely ominous. He angrily questioned the grandfather. Do you really want your descendants to be cut off completely? If you do not, then hurry up and give us a good omen. Perhaps the shaman's words were heard. The next divination showed great fortune. Seeing this, the shaman instructed everyone to begin digging. They kept digging until dawn. The shaman leaned close to the coffin and listened, then realized something was wrong. He ordered everyone to open the coffin immediately. Unexpectedly, the person lying in the coffin who was supposed to be the grandfather turned out to be the young man's father. After the father was lifted out, the shaman gave the young man a pair of shoes and told him to put them on his father. And while doing so, he had to keep calling his father's name in his heart. At that moment, the shaman kept reciting incantations to summon the soul. Then he tapped the father's forehead with a finger. In the next second, the father woke up, but he seemed to remember nothing that had happened. Before everyone could react, the shaman ordered the grave to be buried again. The young man was confused. His grandfather's body had not even been found and placed inside. The shaman said this grave site could no longer be used. After the grave was filled in, the shaman placed a pair of shoes on top of it. Then he set it on fire. He also ordered someone to turn the grandfather's tombstone around. The eldest uncle hurriedly stopped the 2 men. He had heard that if a tombstone was placed upside down, the dead person would go to hell after death. The shaman warned, if you do not turn this tombstone around and stand it up today, then when something goes wrong later, do not come to me to solve it. The second uncle tried to persuade the eldest uncle. Right now, they could only follow the shaman's arrangement. Otherwise, once it got dark, there would be danger. To prevent the grandfather from running to the young man's place in the middle of the night, the eldest uncle agreed to turn the tombstone around and stand it upright. Little did they know, all of this had already been part of the trap the grandfather set up while he was alive. After seeing the shaman bury the tombstone in the dirt, everyone thought the matter was over. The young man was shocked to see a group of weasels kowtowing before his grandfather's grave. Everyone was terrified when they saw this. The shaman immediately told everyone to run, because a weasel bowing at a grave is an ominous sign. It means someone is going to die. Unexpectedly, just after the young man returned home, he heard his mother say that the mason who repaired the grandfather's grave had died. The villagers spread the rumor that anyone who had been to the grave could be facing death. Soon after, the young man and his eldest uncle went to the mason's house together. After paying respects to the mason, they anxiously asked the shaman about the grandfather's whereabouts. They wanted to rebury the grandfather as soon as possible. The shaman told them that the grandfather was not dead. In fact, the grandfather was a corpse driver. There was still another person buried beneath that grave. The grandfather buried himself alive in order to seize the fortune of that grave. But the shaman believed that the grandfather still had some unknown plan. So he warned them not to dig up the grave again, or they would die. The shaman turned the tombstone upside down and stood it in front of the grave, so that the grandfather could keep the person buried beneath it pinned down. But he never expected to encounter the bizarre sight of weasels bowing at the grave. If the weasels were bowing to the grandfather, then there would be no serious consequences. But if they were bowing to the person buried beneath the grave, then everyone who had been to the grave would die. After hearing this, the others went home to sleep first. The young man and the shaman were left here to keep watch. When they were about to leave, they discovered that no matter how long they walked, they could not get out. In the end, they returned to the mason's house again. The shaman could tell that they had entered a ghostly maze. He told the young man to step back. Then he took off his shoes and kept chanting spells in his mouth, hoping to break the ghostly maze this way. But the two of them ended up circling back to the mason's house again. The young man closed his eyes and followed the shaman forward. Unexpectedly, the shaman stopped. When the young man opened his eyes, he saw several people appear before him. He was so frightened that he fainted on the spot. When he woke up, he was already back home. He told the shaman that he had just had a nightmare. In the dream, among those people there was one himself and the shaman, smiling at him. Then he fainted. The shaman asked the young man, "Did you see it after pushing the door open, or did you see it in a dream?" At that moment, the young man could no longer tell dream from reality. The shaman counted on his fingers and discovered that the eldest uncle and second uncle might be in danger. He took the young man back to the mason's house, but they found that both the eldest uncle and second uncle were gone. Even stranger, the young man saw the mason in the memorial portrait smiling at him. Terrified by this scene, he immediately stood up and told the shaman, "The mason has been staring at me." The shaman thought he must have seen it wrong. Since the eldest and second uncles were not here, they planned to look somewhere else. Just as they turned around, they saw the second uncle come back. He said they had just gone to the bathroom, but they could not find the eldest uncle. As soon as the shaman heard this, he became tense. He immediately took the two of them to the grandfather's grave. Unexpectedly, they saw everyone kneeling before the grave. The eldest uncle was among them too. The shaman saw that these were all 16 people who had dug up the grave, and realized that they had been possessed. So the shaman imitated a rooster crowing in all directions, trying to wake their souls.